Welcome, Mr. County Executive. When you're ready, the floor is yours, sir.
Well, thank you, Council Chairman Jones, members of the County Council, and to all residents of Baltimore County. Thank you for joining us this morning as I present Baltimore County's fiscal year 2022 budget, which comes at a time at what we believe is a turning point in our fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. Our ability to gather in person, even with limitations, is a testament to that hope. Last year, the pandemic and all its uncertainty required that our budget presentation be conducted in a fully virtual environment. While we still have work to do to defeat the COVID-19 virus, our collective efforts have been making a difference, and it is truly an honor to return to the council chambers to present our proposed budget this year. Our progress in the fight against COVID-19 has been bolstered by a strong partnership between my administration and the County Council. I'd like to thank all of the council members for your partnership as we work together to respond to this unprecedented crisis. We're here because we love this county, and we believe in the power of public service to improve the lives of others. Amid a global pandemic, that belief has never been more important, and we should all be very proud of what we have done to support our residents in these challenging times. By working together in a bipartisan fashion, we have accomplished a lot over these 2 years, despite the challenges we have faced. And we certainly have faced our share of challenges in Baltimore County over these past 2 years. In our first budget, we worked together to close an inherited $81 million deficit. We took critical steps to reform county government, right our fiscal ship, and strengthen our communities. We created a commission on fiscal sustainability. We adopted more sustainable budgeting practices, and we increased transparency with new public data dashboards, like our Open Checkbook app, which allows for residents to track county spending down to the individual expenditure. Last year, because of our efforts, we were on stronger fiscal footing, and we were positioned to build on our progress. But in the midst of our budget planning efforts, the COVID-19 pandemic struck and completely upended our way of life. Anticipating an economic downturn, collectively we cut $100 million from our budget, and we focused on the essentials: education, public safety, and those critical services our residents depend on. Thanks to our efforts, even as Baltimore County was tested with a structural deficit and a global pandemic, we retained our AAA bond rating, a top-tier financial rating that fewer than 2% of all counties nationwide enjoy. And in this past year, we have seen incredible needs in our communities. Times of crisis require a bold response, so we took unprecedented actions to support our residents. I am particularly proud of our Baltimore County employees who rose to the occasion and stepped into new roles to meet that need. Indeed, since this crisis began, we have prioritized efforts to strengthen the safety net for our residents. In partnership with the Baltimore County Public School System and with support from the Maryland Food Bank, we have provided more than 16 million meals to our residents. The Baltimore County Public Library and Department of Aging also joined the effort to make sure that no resident goes hungry. Using our CARES Act funds, we created an eviction prevention program that has distributed nearly $7.5 million to help more than 1,500 families stay in their homes. One recipient was a senior who was 4 months behind in rent due to the loss of her part-time job. Another was a small business owner who had to shut her business from March to July of 2020. Even though they later returned to work, they still fell behind on rent, and we're proud to have helped them stay in their homes amid these challenging times. In the coming months, we will serve even more families in need. We've allocated another $3 million in state funding and $49 million in federal funds to help thousands of residents stay in their homes. In addition, we plan to invest in support services, including tenant counseling, legal services, and financial navigation. We've also taken steps to close the digital divide. as more people began working from home and students began virtual learning, we worked with Comcast to provide internet essentials free of cost to thousands of families across Baltimore County. In addition, we created a child subsidy program for low-income families with school-age children, as well as a similar program for our employees here in Baltimore County. Our business community also faced unprecedented challenges this year. So to support our businesses, we have awarded more than $25 million across 6 grant programs with more than 1,450 individual grants. That includes millions of dollars to support our restaurants, small businesses, and chambers of commerce. 35% of all of our business grant awards have gone to women and minority-owned businesses, far exceeding the county's goal of 15%. I'd like to thank the members of our congressional delegation who helped pass the CARES Act last year, which made these efforts possible. Thanks to this assistance, we were able to quickly and effectively stand up operations that Baltimore County had never done before at this scale. Now, as we look forward, there's even more reason for optimism. Thanks to the Biden administration and our congressional delegation, Baltimore County will receive around $160 million as part of the American Rescue Plan. We're grateful for this investment in our communities, and we look forward to continuing our work together. In March, we established an economic recovery subcabinet and held roundtable discussions to develop a plan for allocating these funds both efficiently and effectively. Chaired by Leonard Howey, our Director of Economic and Workforce Development, and including representatives from across county government, this group is focused on how to best spend these precious dollars, focused on 3 priority areas: individuals and families, small business, and workforce recovery. The budget we present today is a result of a collaborative effort, the culmination of months of planning, community outreach, and hard work. I want to thank County Administrative Officer Stacy Rogers, our Budget Director Ed Blades, and all of our department heads in Baltimore County and their staff for their hard work in crafting this budget. Once again, we held our trademark Town Hall series virtually this time, engaging residents from every council district in a conversation about the needs of our communities. And throughout this pandemic, we held stakeholder roundtables with businesses, nonprofits, and community groups across Baltimore County. I want to thank everyone who shared their priorities with us. Through these conversations, we set shared priorities: continued support for education, robust investment in open space, and new innovative programs to support businesses and workers who have struggled through this crisis. Our budget advances these goals and more. In the first days of the pandemic, none of us could have foreseen the impact of the crisis or the way it would completely change our way of life. Our world was disrupted in so many ways as classrooms moved online and businesses moved to the curbside. Now, we can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and Baltimore County has consistently led the way among local jurisdictions in vaccine distribution, having been called the best run operation in the state of Maryland and a national model. Thanks to these vaccines and the hard work of our frontline public health workers, we may soon be able to return to our normal way of life. But as we do, we must remember that many of the challenges we faced before the pandemic not only persist, but in many cases have been magnified. That's why we're making a concerted effort to address the disparities that have always been there. We're not just seeking to rebuild our economy, we are working to improve it. That begins with continuing our commitment to education. In our first year in office, we provided record funding for education, increasing our support for our schools with the largest year-over-year amount in the county's history. Last year, we protected those gains, even as we faced budget constraints at the onset of the economic crisis. This year, we continue making progress, striving towards our goal of a world-class educational system for every student in Baltimore County. And right now is a critical time for so many of our students and educators who've lost a year in the classroom because of COVID. Virtual learning has presented new and unique challenges for students, educators, and parents. who've had to play an even greater role in their child's education. These challenges were further complicated by a ransomware attack. But now, as we plan for our children's future and the future of our county, we have an obligation to do more. And as we gradually and safely reopen our schools for hybrid and in-person learning, it's critical that we equip our students and educators with the resources they need to stay safe and to overcome the struggles of the past year. We knew that additional resources were needed for our classrooms even before the pandemic hit, particularly in communities that have been historically disadvantaged and face some of the worst outcomes from the COVID-19 pandemic. Disparities in education lead to disparities later in life, and those disparities will be magnified by the devastation of this past year. It's up to us to bridge the gap and provide the resources that every child needs to thrive. During this year's legislative session, the Maryland General Assembly passed the Maryland Blueprint for Progress, a transformative piece of legislation that comes at a critical time. Thanks to this legislation, we'll eventually have additional resources to expand early childhood education, raise teacher pay, expand career and technical training, and provide for additional investments in the classroom. As we eagerly await this new state funding, we waste no time making progress in our schools through critical local investments. Our budget for education this year includes the single largest dollar increase over maintenance of effort in Baltimore County's history, with an additional $40 million in general funds. In total, education spending increases by more than 10%, with $192 million in new funds. These investments fulfill nearly all of the requests from the Board of Education. I was pleased to work closely with Superintendent Williams to arrive at this budget, which not only restores the 122 teaching positions originally slated to be lost due to declining enrollment, but it also fully funds step increases for BCPS staff, as well as a well-deserved 2% mid-year cost of living adjustment. We further resolved to expand our efforts to provide students with safe and supportive learning environments that support mental health and ensure students can meet their basic needs. To that end, we're also leveraging federal dollars to pay school-based educators and administrators for an additional 15 minutes each day to support student learning recovery. We're also leveraging these funds to increase support for the community eligibility provision, which allows our schools to offer free breakfast and lunch to all students. Further, we provide funding for new counselors and pupil personnel workers who play an essential role in the holistic wellness of our children. And we provide millions more for middle school programs and summer school efforts. The difficulties of reopening our school, and in particular restarting school sports, has shined a light on the challenge administering an athletics program. Especially this year, it has proven to be a demanding task. So our budget funds the reclassifying of athletic directors as 12-month employees, recognizing their dedication and time commitment to this work. On top of these historic investments, the school system will also receive $72 million in federal funds that are currently unallocated and can be used to further support our students and educators. We know that much of this will come as welcome news for our educators and our families, who have worked especially hard over the past year, which is why we must ensure that these critical investments can be sustained going forward, following the expiration of federal funding. Sustaining this investment will require a commitment this year from BCPS and our unions to adopt the same retiree health care modernizations already underway within Baltimore County General Government, the Baltimore County Public Library, and the Community College of Baltimore County. It will further require a commitment to implementing the findings of our ongoing partnership of an efficiency review in the years ahead. As students and educators return to the classroom, we are also reminded of the responsibility to provide every student with a school that is safe, clean, and meets their educational needs. Over the past several years, I've traveled to every corner of the county, and I've seen incredible need: severe overcrowding, brown drinking water, and schools that are literally crumbling into the ground. As a former teacher who once taught in a trailer in disrepair, I know we have to do better. That's why during my first year in office, we committed hundreds of millions of dollars to finish the Schools for Our Future program, then turning our attention to addressing our long-term needs going forward. For 3 years, we've led the charge to pass the Built to Learn Act and modernize our school infrastructure. Fortunately, in passing the blueprint for Maryland's future, the state legislature also unlocked $462 million of funding under the Built to Learn Act, which allows us to complete the Schools for Our Future program and begin laying the groundwork for developing and implementing a long-term plan to improve our high schools. This year, we're putting forward $67 million for the construction of a new Lansdowne High School. Our budget also proposes significant funding for 4 of our elementary schools, including replacements for Red House Run, Deer Park, and Summit Park elementary schools, as well as a major renovation and addition at Scotts Branch Elementary School. In addition, in the Southeast, our budget proposes $1.5 million to design an addition for Dundalk High School. Our proposed budget ensures that every school in Baltimore County has air conditioning, completing a years-long effort to modernize our schools. As we continue developing our multi-year improvement plan for all schools, we will ensure that every student and every educator has a school that meets their needs and affirms their dignity. I'm fully committed to meeting all of the needs of our communities in a fair and equitable fashion, ensuring that no child and no school community is left behind. Through this process, we've affirmed the need to improve our schools in the county central region, and we have identified additional needs in the southeastern and northeastern regions. We remain committed to meeting those needs, and our budget includes feasibility funds to identify the best way forward to improve those schools in these communities. Now is a pivotal moment for the children and the future of Baltimore County. We're proud to provide these unprecedented funds for our schools to make the historic and transformational investments we need. But education doesn't end in 12th grade, and in these challenging times, it becomes even more important to invest in higher education and workforce development. As our residents seek to start their careers or perhaps embark on new ones, we will continue doing all that we can to break down the barriers to opportunity, including expanding access to the Community College of Baltimore County. Since taking office, and in partnership with Dr. Sandra Kurtenitis, we have made unprecedented progress on that access agenda. This year continues that trend. For the 3rd year in a row, our budget proposes freezing in-county tuition, in addition to once again expanding the College Promise Scholarship Program, which provides free community college to another 500 of our students. We're also working with CCBC to expand early college access for high school students looking for a head start on their college education. We're also working to expand their P-TECH programs, a partnership with BCPS and local businesses that helps ensure high school students get their diploma and associate degree within 6 years at no cost to students. The P-TECH program is a model for how businesses and the education sector can work together to fill the gaps for in-demand jobs and provide great opportunities for our students. And despite the economic decline in 2020, Baltimore County is poised for growth, thanks to our vibrant business community. According to the Baltimore County Local Workforce Area Plan, our county remains the top job center in the region and the 2nd largest in the state, with more than 21,000 businesses employing nearly 380,000 workers. Even after this crisis, our 9 core industries are projected to grow, accounting for 75% of our county's economic growth over the next several years. However, we know that while some industries have managed to get by, others have faced disproportionate harm. In the first 6 months of the pandemic, accommodation and food service workers filed more than 14,000 unemployment insurance claims. Retail workers filed more than 12,000 in that same 6-month period. With so many workers and businesses struggling, we have an obligation to do more to support them. Through the ongoing work of the Economic Recovery Subcabinet, we will continue identifying new and innovative ways to support our workforce, our families, and individuals across Baltimore County. Just as we have done with our CARES Act funding, we will leverage the American Recovery Plan to support our recovery, with new investments in our Small Business Resource Center, expanded Youth Works programming, increased support for our community development corporations, and funding for tourism and Main Streets. We will also make new innovations within Baltimore County government to address long-standing economic disparities. One of those new initiatives is the creation of the Department of Housing and Community Development, a new agency that will work to ensure that affordable housing supports stability and develop stronger neighborhoods. This past year has laid bare just how fragile access to quality housing access can be. Early on, we recognized that the COVID-19 pandemic had the potential to cause a tsunami of evictions and increased housing instability. But in Baltimore County, we stepped up, distributing millions to help keep roofs over the heads of families. And moving forward, we will continue that work to ensure that we have a dedicated department to strengthen our neighborhoods, just as every other large jurisdiction in Maryland has. In the years ahead, Baltimore County will continue building on the capacity of our communities, empowering our residents to build better lives for themselves and their families. As we continue in our recovery, equity will also remain at the forefront of our efforts. We know that after years of disinvestment and underinvestment, the COVID-19 pandemic has disproportionately harmed Black and brown communities. Latino and Black residents have been more likely to get sick and more likely to die as a result of COVID-19. For example, while Latino residents represent nearly 6% of our population, they also represent, on average, nearly 10% of our COVID-19 cases. This challenge was compounded by language barriers, which required us to develop a plan to reach those communities, not just with translated materials and brochures, but also with targeted outreach and partnerships with regional nonprofits. Moving forward, we will continue to be intentional about supporting all of the communities and doing more to support those who have faced this historic underinvestment. Local government should be connected and accessible to all of its residents. We must build bridges where we know there are gaps. That has always been true, and again, the global pandemic has only served to underscore that point. To that end, this budget proposes creating an immigrant affairs specialist who will help us improve our work with immigrant communities across Baltimore County. And recently, our administration released the results of a study that analyzed the county's contracting practices in the years before I took office. The study found that minority and women-owned businesses were underutilized in the awarding of contracts in the past. These findings confirmed much of what we knew of past practices, and they affirmed the steps we've already taken to ensure greater opportunity for our minority and women entrepreneurs. From day one, our administration has been committed to promoting equity across our government, and we've remained focused on doing just that. I'm proud to share that spending on minority and women-owned businesses has increased 59% since 2018. But we know that's not enough. This year, we propose taking additional steps to meet our goals, including creating highly recommended positions to support both contract compliance and certification reviews. Baltimore County residents deserve safe, healthy communities. A year ago, Police Chief Melissa Hyatt began implementing a new public safety plan, which includes using targeted crime prevention efforts in hotspots and using data analysis to improve policing strategies. That plan is beginning to bring results, with crime declining in most categories, thanks to the hard work of our law enforcement officials. However, we must remain vigilant in our work to keep our community safe, and we will continue to do all that we can to curb crime. That includes continuing our work with the Organized Crime Drug Enforcement Task Force, expanding access to behavioral and mental health services, and making upstream investments in our communities. Last year, amid a national call to ensure equitable policing in every community, we took unprecedented steps to reform policing in Baltimore County, making our police department more transparent and accountable to the people it's sworn to protect. With the bipartisan Smart Policing Act, we banned chokeholds, required additional de-escalation and implicit bias training, and prevented officers with prior records of misconduct from serving in our department. In addition, we are increasing transparency in the police department with the county's first body-worn camera policy, as well as new data dashboards that tracks use of force by and complaints against law enforcement officers. This year, we propose new investments to continue our work towards more accountable policing. We've seen in Baltimore County that body-worn cameras serve an important purpose, elevating transparency in our police department. This year, we will finish the job and outfit the entire department. In addition, we propose funding an expansion of the Internal Affairs Office to further increase transparency and accountability within our police department. I want to be very clear. Our police officers put their lives on the line to keep our community safe. I am confident that the reforms we've enacted will make a great police department even better. I want to thank Chief Hyatt for her leadership during a time of great change for law enforcement. And I want to thank all of the men and women of the Baltimore County Police Department for their hard work and dedication to keeping all of our communities safe. We're also providing capital investments to support our first responders, including $16 million towards the eventual establishment of a new fire station and police substation at Trade Point Atlantic and Sparrows Point, and an additional $7 million towards a new Wilkins Police Precinct. In addition, we're providing $1 million for land acquisition for a new career fire station in Catonsville. Within the fire department, we're also proposing a community outreach position to engage residents and businesses to help prevent fires at our homes and businesses. We also propose creating an equity officer and establishing a new contract with a doctor to serve as a medical director and support the health needs of our firefighters. Our proposed budget also provides $1.5 million more towards the volunteer fire department's revolving loan fund. And we will continue our commitment to providing a second set of turnout gear and commercial grade washers in each station with $4.5 million in capital funding. Baltimore County residents also depend on local government to provide high-quality services that keep our communities vibrant, safe, and clean. We're proud to propose new ideas and funds to continue that work and do even more for our residents. In our library system, we're proposing to eliminate all overdue fines, which burden our most vulnerable residents, often the same people who need the library services the most. Going fine-free will help eradicate inequities and further ensure that everyone feels welcomed at their local library. I'd like to thank Sonia Alcantara-Antoine, our new director of the Baltimore County Public Library, for advocating for this very important change. In our Department of Aging, we're proposing new investments to support new senior centers and all of our seniors, including funds to begin the process of creating a new senior center in northern Baltimore County, ensuring our North County seniors have a dedicated space and expanded access to services. We also propose funding significant and long-needed expansions to the Woodlawn Senior Center and parking expansions to both our Cockeysville and Fleming Senior Center locations. Per the recommendations of our Code Enforcement Work Group, we propose funding for 6 additional code enforcement inspectors, in addition to proposing a new revolving fund to address neglected properties in our neighborhoods. These investments are the bread and butter of local government, and they are fundamental to a neighborhood's quality of life. I'm excited to also share that our budget includes funds to support bringing back bulk trash pickup. Which we know so many residents and council members have been calling for. We expect the program to be online in early 2022. In so many ways, we're taking bold actions to move Baltimore County forward. When it comes to laying the groundwork for a sustainable future, we're also leaving no stone unturned. For the first time, the county is working on a climate action plan and a greenhouse gas inventory. We're partnering with BG&E to install electric vehicle charging stations on county property, and we're converting methane gas from the Eastern Sanitary Landfill to renewable energy. In addition, we restarted our glass recycling program, fulfilling a promise of last year's budget. This year, we're continuing our work to advance sustainability with new and innovative programs. Our proposed budget includes $2.4 million for tree planting and maintenance, including $400,000 for a tree equity program, as well as $250,000 for green infrastructure programs and $500,000 for phase 2 of our climate action plan. This year's budget also proposes to double our investment in our high-performance home and energy conservation tax credits, which have been so successful there's now a significant backlog. By investing more in these tax credits, more residents will have access to the credits they deserve, and we can encourage even more green investment in Baltimore County. Another essential part of building a sustainable Baltimore County is preserving more green space to protect our environment, keep our farmland, and provide Baltimore County residents with outdoor amenities at our local parks. Our capital budget includes a record $75 million for recreation and parks. Including state funds and local funds, and $4 million of bond funding for agricultural preservation, thanks to county voters who approved our bond referenda on the 2020 ballot. And this year, we doubled down even farther on land preservation, proposing to increase to $5.3 million in local funds for the county's land preservation programs, which includes $600,000 in capital towards the Piney Rural Legacy Program. In addition, we propose to invest $50,000 to support leadership development and transition at the Baltimore County Land Trust Alliance. We further support land preservation within the ERDL by ensuring that Baltimore County Neighbor Space receives a $100,000 grant from Baltimore County government this year. As we continue developing a new master plan for the entirety of our county's park system, we will prioritize equity so that every community in Baltimore County can enjoy a local park. Some of those priorities are already in the pipeline. Last year, the county acquired a 7.7 acre property to create a new park at Greens Lane, adjacent to the Randallstown Community Center. And thanks to Speaker Adrian Jones and our state legislators, Baltimore County will be putting a total of $7 million of state and local funds towards the development of this recently acquired site. This budget proposes $14.5 million to fund the $16.4 million Sparrows Point Park in eastern Baltimore County, which is in the design phase and will include our first ever LEED Platinum designed building. The budget also paves the way for significant renovations at Rockdale Park, Linover Park, Fleming Park, Diamond Ridge Family Park, and a destination playground at the Banneker Community Center, among other locations. It matches state funds to install turf fields at both Parkville and Kenwood High Schools and includes $6 million for lighted turf fields at Belfast Road. We're also investing in new trail systems, including $1.5 million for the Dundalk Heritage Trail, as well as funds for the North Point Greenway Trail and the Franklin Woodland Trail. In addition, we're providing $1 million to support the redevelopment of the Pikesville Armory, which will be matched by the state and matched yet again by the local nonprofit leading the Armory's redevelopment efforts. We also invest $600,000 more to continue the planning and feasibility studies of the Western Hills Community Park. Other capital budget investments include funding for improvements to Rocky Point Golf Course, including meeting space and an improved clubhouse in order to accommodate more events, as well as for an upcoming partnership with the Revenue Authority at the Reisterstown Sportsplex, which will include plans for a second ice rink. Parks and recreational opportunities are critical for vibrant communities. The same is true for our ability to move around. In Baltimore County, we are setting a new vision for what a local transportation network should look like, with a greater focus on transit, bike lanes, and walkability. We're preparing to launch the Towson Circulator this year, a transit project we hope to replicate in communities across Baltimore County. In addition, we've created bike lanes on Campbell Boulevard, Bedford Avenue, and Westland Boulevard. Baltimore County should also be walkable for pedestrians, especially in our main corridor. So, this budget includes funding for the initial work necessary to build sidewalks on Ingleside Avenue in Catonsville, 7 Mile Lane in Pikesville, and continues our investment in the Windsor Mill Road sidewalk project. Our proposed budget includes significant funds for road resurfacing and traffic calming, continuing our commitment to ensure our roadways are safe for our residents. Amid this crisis, the day-to-day work of local government hasn't stopped, and our employees have gone above and beyond to serve our residents. I cannot thank them enough for all they do and all they have done, and that has been especially true this year. In recognition of the outstanding service they provide to the residents of Baltimore County, we remain committed to investing in our people, the county's most precious resource. That includes a full funding of steps and increments, as well as a mid-year cost of living adjustment for all county employees. We're also continuing to modernize our operations. I learned from one employee, for example, that some members of our team still do not have government email accounts, leaving them out of the loop and feeling disconnected from their colleagues. This budget proposes new funding to ensure that every county employee has access to an email account. In my first budget 2 years ago, we laid out a plan to replenish and bolster our fund that pays for retiree health care and life insurance benefits, which was drained in prior years and was heading towards insolvency. This year, I'm proud to report that we are ahead of schedule in restoring that fund with a $70 million contribution, double what we included in last year's initial budget. In addition, we're providing new resources to support our employees, including expanding our tuition reimbursement program to non-merit employees, granting non-merit employees with 3 personal days, and providing eligible employees with the option to obtain a certified public manager certificate. Over the last year, we have each sacrificed so much for each other, and we have all felt a sense of loss. We missed opportunities to see our loved ones. Students and educators lost a year in the classroom. Some of us lost people who are important to us. Life as we knew it completely was changed. Just as we shared in our struggles, we shared in our resolve. So many people stepped up to help others, whether it was through distributing meals, sewing masks, or just being there. We must remember that we got through this together and that we can and will rebuild our communities together. We can't lose sight of why we've made those sacrifices to protect our neighbors, our loved ones, and total strangers. Now, we have an opportunity to channel that same compassion towards a brighter future and a stronger county. We have an opportunity to build a recovery that works for everyone, continues the progress we've made, and provides a higher quality